Hey everybody, it is Kary Oberbrunner, and I have with me my international friend, Aaron Luse. How you doing, Aaron?
Excellent. Good to be here, Kary.
Good to be here too, man. I look in the back and I see this awesome global map, and anytime I think about you, I think of a guy who has a heart for the world, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. In fact, I'm so excited to really unpack this book and your journey. And I mean, who lives in the jungle? How many years did you live like in the jungle?
17 years we've been in Papua New Guinea, last 15 of them in a tribe in the jungle. No electricity, no running water, bamboo huts. Pretty crazy.
So Aaron and I, what the quick story is that we met in post high school. I was finding myself. I would say you were a very focused man. I really believe that. I met your then girlfriend,
Right.
would-be fiance, now wife, in the jungles of New Guinea because she was chasing this dream that you had, and it's her dream too. But tell us a little bit about Lori and this dream, and how did you know at the age of what age did you even know what you wanted to do with your life? So many people don't even know about that stuff.
Yeah, it was a journey from kind of early elementary onward. But when I was 16, I had the opportunity to go to New Guinea, where there's over 800 different languages and people
Huh.
groups, and so many of them living in poverty and in fear, and just saw the needs over there and saw that, man, by giving my life, I could make a difference in some of those people groups. And my wife, at the same time, 2 years later, went on the same trip to New Guinea. That's where she met you.
Mm.
It was kind of a make it or break it point for us, actually. She was
Yeah.
trying to figure out, is this really what I want to do? And she had a passion for it, came back and said, yeah, absolutely. And we continued life together, went to
Gee.
college, went through training, uh, back into the tribe. And now 4 girls later, we are finishing up a work over there.
I get it, man. And you and I kind of lost touch. I mean, I brought down my fiance to meet you guys
That's right.
in the year maybe 2000, maybe
Right.
99.
Right around there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 2000. So I kind of caught back up with you, but then I don't think I saw you for like 18 years or something, maybe
Right.
17 years, probably. So you today, I invited you on not just to talk about New Guinea, not just to talk about your amazing book called Tales from the Tribe, but you kind of said to me as we were chatting, hey, I kind of have three keys that I use you to accomplish dreams despite limitations. And I know that, I mean, the moment I heard you say that, I thought the podcast audience, if you're watching this on video, the viewers need to hear that because you had a mountain-sized dream. I mean, what kid, and you're not going to brag about this, but I'm just going to say you came from a very secure background, a financially established family, and that also has a global mindset. And you just basically said, I'm going to give it up all to pursue this dream, which is invest my life in this little people group in the jungle. Nobody's going to really know about me. Nobody's going to know about these people. That's crazy, first of all. I mean, that's crazy talk for most people watching this. But then you had resistance. You had obstacles. I'm sure you had people, you didn't tell me this, but I'm sure you had people steal from you.
Absolutely.
You're like, absolutely. I'm sure you had physical elements that threatened you.
We did. There were tsunami warnings. There were volcanoes going off. There was malaria. Everybody in our families had malaria. I mean, we dealt with the physical issues. We dealt with just trying to live from day to day. I mean, no microwave, all those conveniences that we take for granted, but trying to just get by day to day, a lot of
Yeah.
extra work.
Yeah. And so even though people today might say, well, I can't relate to malaria or volcanoes or people stealing from me, their dream has obstacles as well. Their dream has threats. And you kind of have this great universal model that helps people with their dreams. So I'm just going to kind of shut up and say, hey, Aaron, talk to us about these 3 keys.
Yeah, Kary, these 3 things I think helped me both in the Papua people group over in New Guinea to accomplish these monumental tasks of learning this unwritten language and culture and creating a literacy program, teaching them how to read and write their own language, doing Bible translation, teaching the village all kinds of things about hygiene and health and Bible lessons and ways to develop their little economy there. So that was huge. But then later on, in contact with you, this idea to write a book and the same principles that I used in that, I was able to apply to the book. And what a privilege now to just pass those on to you guys. And I guess there it is, Tales from the Tribe.
I love it.
It's kind of 3 different things. I'm going to mention them, throw them out there, Kary, and then we can get into each one. But the first one is to have a Fitbit mentality.
I love it.
And I'll explain that, but a Fitbit mentality. Second thing is to set alive lines. And the third is to create partnership proddings. So just going back to that first one, have a Fitbit mentality. Recently, my wife was able to get one of those Fitbits that she wears around, and you set these big goals of how many steps you're going to accomplish in a day. And it's a great movement right now that people are doing to get their steps in. But what I mean by the Fitbit mentality is this: in accomplishing that monumental task of translation or literacy programs or writing a book, and there's an end goal in sight, like that daily task of 10,000 steps in sight.
Right.
But in order to accomplish it, Kary, it has to be done step by step. And a lot of times I find myself getting focused on the end goal, this huge thing, and feeling overwhelmed and not knowing where to go and almost giving up on the dream right away, because how can I accomplish that?
Yeah.
How would that? And what it requires is that Fitbit mentality of, okay, let's take the next step and the next step. I'll give you an example with my wife with accomplishing this end goal. When she goes to the grocery store, one of the things she can do is park at the end of the parking lot, because she knows then she'd have to walk across the parking lot to get into it. Once she gets in the grocery store, okay, life continues. You go on. But that was a way to accomplish those steps right there.
It's like a micro goal almost.
Absolutely, yeah. Instead of waiting for the elevator to go to the 3rd floor of the hotel room or the 5th floor of the office, man, take those steps up and down, and then life continues.
Yeah.
And I found myself limited in resources out in the jungle.
Oh, yeah.
I found myself limited in time just trying to keep things up from day to day. I found myself limited in ability, but knowing, okay, if I want to accomplish my goals, I can take just this little next step, and that'll help me move me towards my next goal. Yeah.
And on that point, anytime somebody has an excuse, one of our students, they say, I live in a small town, or, my Wi-Fi went down last night. I kind of think in my head, and sometimes I use you as an example. I say, you know what? There's this guy who published with us a beautiful book, and he was in the jungle. In other words, he didn't have Wi-Fi. He couldn't hop on the phone calls with me and say, hey, Kary, I'm stuck. What should I do here and here? Which the program obviously is built for people to be able to access me, the content. But you, my friend, I mean, is it fair to say that at times you had a boat ride or take a helicopter or a plane to get to town so you could actually access?
We had to go 3 hours by boat just to check our mail and go to the store and download stuff. And with Author Academy Elite, I mean, you have that 52-week plan, and the 20-week plan, and that's a resource that I was able to download and get and have, even though I didn't have access to the Facebook tribe or to all the videos. I knew which step came next.
I love it.
And by following that one, you had a bunch of resources for each one. And when I would go out to the town every 2 months, man, I could download some of those resources for that next step, take it back, work on that. Otherwise, looking at all the information, you have a ton of information with Author Academy Elite, absolute gold mine. but knowing what's my next step, focusing on that and getting it done. The longest song in the Bible is Psalm 119. It talks about the Bible, and it has all these pictures. One of the pictures, it says, your word's a lamp unto my feet and a light to my path. It's not this huge floodlight showing us every bend and corner, but the lamp for your feet. What's the next step?
There you go.
And even though I think God's word has the answers for everything, a lot of times we only know the next step.
There you go.
I remember Kary in the jungle, wandering through these trails at night. All we had would be these homemade torches that they'd light on fire. And we'd be wandering through this jungle. And I had no idea where we were headed at times, just knowing I'm going to follow this guy with my little lamp, my little torch, and I know the next step, what route to avoid, what to step over, what turn to make. But that's a lot of times that Fitbit mentality. To reach the end goal, got to focus on those next few steps.
That's crazy. I love that. And I tell people often that clarity comes with action. In other words, you don't sit in a room and say, okay, I'm going to map out my entire life and everything I'm going to figure out, and even a book. The proposal helps, and we show you that process, and you do map out the structure. But, I mean, this book is it's beautiful. It's got the shaded text boxes. By the way, I just found, when I opened it up, a picture of your family. Can I show them that, or is that like?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know. But, I mean, Aaron, first of all, he looks like Indiana Jones there in a good way. But, I mean, you have a beautiful family, 4 girls. People would look at you and say, dude, you're nuts. What are you talking about? Your kids are going to grow up without Xbox or, without cell phones or this type of thing. I love what you're saying. You had a big dream and you had a Fitbit mentality. Let's go on to step 2. And it's not lifelines like that one show, whatever it was, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It's Alive Lines.
Alive
Lines. I don't know what the heck that is. Tell me about that.
All right. That's what you're just talking about action steps, taking it, because everybody's familiar with deadlines. And a lot of people fear deadlines. Like, oh man, this dreaded deadline.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if we have marks that we set for ourselves with action points to get to it, take action and get it done, and then we start to feel alive. And I don't like to refer to them as deadlines, but these marks that we set, that if we accomplish these steps and these goals, man, there's an aliveness that our dreams alive and being accomplished. I remember when I was a kid, I don't know if you did this, Kary, but I would get on the basketball court, just me and the world.
Yep.
And I'd have the basketball and I'd be counting down 10, 9, 3,
right.
2, 1, take the buzzer shot, man, hit it. The crowd goes wild in my mind. And that was accomplishing that dream by that deadline, by that. And what is that? It makes me feel alive and excited.
Sure.
And when we were in the jungle, we had to learn this language that there was no Rosetta Stone or no course. There was no way to, there's no textbook. We had to go and figure out what it meant when they said, and all these weird sounds that were coming out, trying to figure out how to say, what's your name? Good morning, all these things. But we had a consultant that every 6 months, he would come in and do an evaluation for us. And we had to have so many hours of practice in by that 6 months, and so many texts that we were working on. And so those were our alive lines.
Yeah.
And when he would come in at 6 months, he would look at what we accomplished. We'd begin to speak. Even though he didn't know the language, he could measure out by these things that we had accomplished, these steps. Wow. And that 6 month mark was something that made me alive. I had the privilege to be adopted into this tribe. They brought me into one of the clans, so I had a tribal father, a tribal mother.
Okay.
My tribal father was pretty old when he adopted us in. And as we were learning his language, trying to communicate with him to be able to share these important truths to his life, I watched his health decline more and more. Mm. And man, these marks every 6 months of getting to a place where finally I was fluent in his language. And I was able to share with him in his own language, because he had these fears about death, and he had fears about where he would go, and he had all these fears, able to share with him
Mm.
liberating truths from the Bible, and to see just his life transformed, and to see that fear dissipated, and to hear him proclaim the gospel of Jesus and what he had done. And now his life was changed. And guess what? Shortly after that, he died.
Wow.
And I thought, man, if I hadn't had those alive lines, those marks where I was trying to set and accomplish goals, it would have been literal death.
Mm.
I would have lost that opportunity. That dream, that life was lost. When it came to the book, I had the opportunity to work with an editor who's now a part of Ghostwriter Academy Elite. And she helped me set these alive lines, these points where I had to accomplish so much for each chapter and get it to her in order to get the book finished. And that's why the book finished when it did, was because I had these alive lines. And every time I reached them, I didn't feel dead. The dream was alive. The book was alive. It was becoming accomplished.
That's cool. So it's like the Fitbit mentality. We call it micro goals. We call this thing alive lines, not deadlines, because it's essentially stopping points. It's checkpoints. It's accountability. I mean, your consultant or Ghostwriter Academy, they kept you on pace so that this dream didn't become overwhelming. And then your third step, you said create partner proddings.
Right. Create partner proddings. And that's taking that accountability step up one notch. When we were in the tribe and I knew that a group of guys was going to show up first thing in the morning in order to get their next lesson on how to read and write their own language, and they were going to expect a handout to take home and work on homework, that was something that I knew they were going to show up, and I had to be accountable to them and prepare this. One of the cool things about Author Academy Elite is the Facebook tribe.
Right.
All these members that have common goals. And when I was in town and was able to log in and see people saying, hey, this is what I accomplished this week. This was my mission for the week, and I got this far. Sometimes they'd say I didn't make it, and other people would jump on and encourage you. When I was in the tribe, I was limited with that. I didn't have that. I didn't have that accountability, that tribe, that team. But one of the tribe members at the time happened to be my father. And he wrote a book at the same time called The 7 Systems Plan, Proven Steps to Lose Weight, Heal Chronic Illness, and Reverse Aging for Good. He's a doctor. He's a fitness coach. And he was wanting to accomplish his dream while I was writing my book. And so together, I would get little text from him. Even though I couldn't get on the internet, I would get these short messages saying, hey, I got this chapter done. Where are you at?
I love it. I love it.
It was a race together. We had this mutual prodding to get it done. And tell you what, Fitbit mentality, taking it step by step, having those alive lines to keep that dream alive and well, and knowing it's not just my dream, but it's the message of what we're going to be portraying gives life. And having those alive lines, and then having that partnership prodding to have someone to keep you going. And a lot of those are accomplished through Author Academy Elite. I experienced them as I was going through this book, even though I had some limited resources with internet. And those were the same things that drove us on to do and accomplish what we did while we were in the tribe. And
you had a big goal, which was, we have an annual conference called the Igniting Souls Conference. You knew you were going to be in the States. And how often are you in the States? Pretty rare, right?
Every 5 years, we're back for a little while.
Yeah, every 5 years. So this was not, this was like, hey, if Aaron misses this conference and if he misses his book being published, you miss it for another 5 years.
Miss it, right?
So I love this, and I'm just proud of you, because the book is is well done. It looks fantastic. You have all kinds of. Let's talk about it. And in the back, you have something where other people can kind of go through it. In other words, some people might say, "Well, Aaron, Tales from the Tribe. That's fun reading. That's exciting. How does that relate to me in my life?" Tell us a little bit about what your book is going to do for people that, live in a non-jungle part of the world.
Well, first, the book does show the progression of our journey, what we accomplished over those 17 years. It takes people, I think, on a journey with us. But then in each chapter, I wanted to make it real. I wanted to make it personal. So there's a part that is called From the Tribe. And it's a true story that we experienced while we were there. One of them's when I was running for my life from machetes. Another one's when we were stranded on an island. Another one has to do with my wife eating grub worms and eating pig fat. And I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. So it tells about those things. But the next section is to your home. How does this relate to us, maybe in America or Canada or the West? How does this apply to us? I tell you what, when I was in the jungle, I learned so many lessons about being a servant, about humbleness, about some of the things I thought I had a handle on. And now bringing those lessons back and saying, okay, here's how it applies to us here, whether you're in business or whatever role you have, here's the application. There's also a study. You can do a study, read a passage from Scripture and answer some questions. And that's all laid out. I did it on an individual basis, but in the back, there's some tips on how to do it for a group study guide.
Yeah.
There's more on the website about that as well. So I wanted to make it not just fun stories, which I think it is, but an application for us how to be more productive with what we're doing and being able to do it. Individual studies, group studies.
I love it. Yeah, I'm at this section right now where it talks about the group study and the journey that people can go on. Where can people get, first of all, can they sample this? And second of all, where?
Well, what I would like to do, Kary, if it's all right, I'd like to make the first 3 chapters available for free.
Awesome.
To anybody who's listening to this.
Be great.
If they go to the website there, talesfromthetribe.com, go to contacts, put in their name and email, I'll send them the first 3 chapters for free. They'll be able to get that. I also have some links on there where they can get the hardcovers for discount price. Otherwise, it is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can look inside the cover through Amazon and see some of those things.
I love it. I love it. And I think this is good for a lot of reasons. One is I don't want my kids to be sheltered. I want my kids to be global citizens. So even if you're listening to this and you're saying, well, I don't understand the whole faith thing going on, that's cool. One is I learned a ton today from those 3 keys, Aaron, because I love dream study. I love dream research. That's one of my lifelong passions is why do some people achieve dreams and why do other people give up? So it's like dream achievement. And you gave us a great framework today to talk about dream achievement. So even if people are in business or they're in fitness or like your dad, they're in medicine, health, they could have a dream to lose weight. They could have a dream to have better communication with a loved one. Those Fitbit mentality, set alive lines, and create partnership products. Fantastic. How cool is it to launch your book with your dad? Both first-time authors, his and yours, have both, you're not going to brag. I'm going to brag for you. But you guys in 2 months sold more than 4 to 8 times the average traditionally published book sells in a year. Did you guys catch that? In the first 2 months, Aaron and Pat Luse, Pat's is the 7 Systems Plan. People can find out about him with Dr. Dr. Pat Luse, LUSE.com. You guys do it well. He created a course. He created an online business. We showed him how to do that. You've created an online movement where you want to increase the kingdom and other help in impoverished areas and give people through the scriptures, the opportunity to choose a faith relationship in Jesus Christ. That's fantastic. So nonprofit, for-profit. How cool is it, though, to launch with your dad?
Man, it's been awesome. We have been sharing that, hey, this is kind of like a health book, his for your body, mine for your soul.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
together we're looking to make a difference in the world and in the, not just the States, but all over. Talking about what you just mentioned, my oldest daughter, when she got back to the States, someone said, man, what's it like growing up in New Guinea? Didn't you feel like you missed out on everything, on all the football? She said, I feel sorry for the kids that have to grow up here. They only experience one culture, one life. And I feel like I've seen so much. And
Yes.
that's part of the goal of this book, is just to expand
That's
people's
good.
look globally.
Well, we're
And
moving that way. I mean, we really are.
we are.
Uh,
Even though internet's limited in places,
yeah,
we're moving towards that vision of seeing what's out there and what's in the world.
exactly. Well, you guys did it well. I mean, we'll talk more about this in the future on this podcast, but we have a system where you launch with a launch team, a launch party. I was part of that. I saw it. It was fantastic. You create an event rather than simply, announcing to the world my book's out. You drive energy. And this is all a process. And if people are listening, they're saying, hey, I want to know more about Author Academy Elite or about Author Academy, which is the marketing system that we teach. Very, very unique. Not many people are out there showing you how to build a business or a nonprofit around your book. Aaron and Pat are just two of the many examples. But you can always find out more at karyoberbrunner.com/book, BOOK. That's a free training. You can check out karyoberbrunner.com/author academy if you have a book out that needs to be marketed better, or if you want to kind of become one of our authors like Aaron did. And Author Academy Elite, by the way, great book. I mean, it just feels, our model is that I don't get any profits, and I like that model because I want you to, this is your book, this is your baby. But your website is talesfromthetribe.com. And people can check that out, give it a shot, get those 3 free chapters. Aaron, thank you for serving a people group that you may never get credit for this side of eternity. We started our paths together in 1997. That dates us. So I don't even know how many years ago that is. Is that 21 years ago? So 21 years ago, I met you. I was a lost young man. No, you were good. You were good. And I know a lot of my friends moved on with missions. I kind of went on a different path, and hey, we came back full circle, and I became your publisher. So that's pretty cool.
It's been great reconnecting with you. I appreciate you as a coach and helping me through this process and to make those 3 principles come alive.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for listening. And go ahead, check Aaron out, talesfromthetribe.com. It's a great book for yourself, for your family, to get them globally minded, to also consider the good news that's offered to them. We don't have to live in death, destruction, hopelessness. We actually can find true peace through a relationship with God. Aaron, thanks, and we'll be talking very soon.
All right. Thank you, Kary.